Okay, so hold on. I'm just gonna do one more quick check here with my PC. I need to also do something real quick here as well. Come on, open up. Thank you. Wow, that was easy. Okay, let's give me one sec, guys. I'm going through some stuff. Yeah, that's a nice floor. Beautiful floor. Beautiful floor. Look at that. I even have this this fridge with the brand name on it. Okay. I don't want to end the stream. Why would I want to end the stream? Oh, can I not see? Who's the viewer? Can we see who the viewers are? We can't. Okay. Well, anyway, this will be interesting enough as it is. There's my face. Are you the one that's viewing this thing? Are you the one that's viewing this thing? My Twitch. Are you viewing it?
Are you on Twitch now?
Yeah. No. Well, okay. So, here we go. And for anybody who wants to know, this is just a test because I'm doing one earlier. Hopefully that isn't too loud. That fan. Come on. Loosen up. There we go. Let's see here. Cool. Oh shoot. Hold on. Okay. Nice. Oh wow, this floor. I'm gonna have to clean my floor. Alright. Let's go there. Maybe I can... This is all about testing, more or less, because I want to do something later, a little bit more advanced, and I want to make sure I pick the right thing. Give me one sec. There. I need a little bit more firmness. Got it. Alright, I think that is the best angle right there. Alright. We can see my face pretty good, so we're all good. Alright. So today is going to be an interesting day. I have something I'm going to be cooking later, but I wanted to try something. I wanted to make a little stream, kind of go back over it and see where I'm at on my Saturday vlogs. Yeah, it's not a vlog. My Saturday streams where I'm going to be cooking a nice fancy dinner and give everybody a little bit of inspiration on what they're going to be, what they might want to eat for the next couple of days. So, if you need to know, my experience is pretty good in terms of cooking. I worked for many different restaurants as a cook. My last location, that's how you know where I came from. But my last job was working at Walt Disney World, and I've worked a couple different locations there, mainly the Epcot Festivals team, where we worked with a couple different festivals. You know, we all know Flower and Garden and Food and Wine, which is like arguably that's my favorite one to use. But we also had like a festival for arts and crafts and that kind of stuff. Also, I worked for the Grand Floridian. If you know the Grand Floridian, that's where all the fancy restaurants are. I did not get into the fancy restaurants because of COVID-related issues. However, I did get to work at Grand Floridian and talk with many of the chefs, including the chef of one, Victoria and Albert's, which is Disney's 5-star, 5-diamond, one of like, I think 3 in the entire United States. So pretty damn good. And to be able to talk to a chef about different kinds of stuff is really cool. So hopefully that gives you an idea of where I'm at. I also worked a couple of other locations at Walt Disney World, but they're irrelevant. Let me put this away. This is really bothering me. Just some random Italian seasoning out. So don't worry about that stock over here. That stock is not going to be used. We just have no room because my kitchen is a very small kitchen. Hopefully we can get to a point where we get a bigger kitchen. But anyway, today for this little stream we're going to be cooking some biscuits and gravy, but it won't be a traditional biscuits and gravy. It will be traditional, but I kind of modified it a little bit with some ingredients that I grew up with as a kid from my parents and my region, which was, I'm from the New England region. I'm from Massachusetts, not from Boston, but from Massachusetts. And so there's a couple of flavors that I always think of when I think of Massachusetts and I think of the New England region. And that's maple and that molasses taste that you get in a lot of different ingredients there. The obvious would be Boston baked beans has molasses and mustard. I mean, maple is obviously a huge deal for Vermont. So I try to incorporate those flavors in. Now, I'm going to show you let me loosen this up a little bit, our ingredient list for this. So this is a biscuits and gravy, and the NE in the title refers to New England recipe. So let's take a look at what we're going to need for this recipe. As you can see, there's over here. We've got, so because this is a test run for this kind of streaming, I'm actually going to not do everything from scratch. I should be doing things from scratch later on. But for now, I just wanted to test it. So I'm not going to mill my own meats. We will be cutting meats and doing pretty much those kinds of where I'm going to get whole slabs and try to cut them up and show you how to cut them as well, which will be nice. But when it comes to stuff like this, breakfast sausage, for the most part, I'm not going to be milling it myself because I don't have the means for doing it. And quite honestly, it is a not easy job to make your own ground meats. You really have to get like a lot of fat and you have to understand your ratios and stuff. And it's just a lot easier to use a pre-made package like this, especially because a lot of these are quite good. As you can see even here on the recipe label, there's not a lot of stuff in here outside of, the norm. There is some corn syrup added, obviously, and some pork broth. They add the spices, but you could tell basically the first ingredient is pork and the second ingredient was water. So, and the water is pretty much added just to help when you grind it up, keep it from sticking too much and lets it kind of flow a little bit. And then all the spices and stuff that you put in here is right through here. So they use basically pork broth, corn syrup, salt, vinegar, sugar, and monosodium glutamate, spice extracts, natural flavor. I hate that they use corn syrup and sugar. That kind of feels redundant. The whole point you use corn syrup for is because sugar is, corn syrup's cheaper than sugar and easier to use than sugar. But anyway, that's what we're going to be using here. We have a can of biscuits. Now, I'm going to make biscuits in the future by hand. I have all the necessary ingredients for that, but because I want to test this out, we're just going to use a can of biscuits. And quite honestly, this is a great thing to use if you're at home. I suggest that unless you really want to go that extra mile, just go get a can of biscuits. It's easy. It'll save you some time. Plus, the biscuit's really there just to be kind of like a, it's it's kind of like a base, like a pizza crust, right? Like the pizza crust is good, but you don't need to kill it on the pizza crust as long as the toppings are good. All right. So when you're making this, we're going to be, like I said, we're going to be using the sausage. After we've cooked the sausage, we're going to stick in some butter. This is unsalted butter. I always use unsalted butter when I cook anything. I only use salted butter when I'm making a spread or whipped butter for, you know, breads and stuff. Unsalted butter is definitely the way to go. As a cook or chef, whatever you want to call me, I love using unsalted butter. I can control the salt better. All right, we're going to be using some of this. So basically what you're going to be using is you're actually making a roux in there. Obviously milk. We're going to be using some 2% reduced fat milk. For this one, I would prefer to use whole milk if you can use whole milk, but I'm going to use the much easier answer for a lot of people, the reduced milk. Get half and half if you can. Obviously, I did not. This is some milk that needs to be used up as it is, so I'm going to be just using it and getting it through. As far as seasonings are going to go, we're going to brown this butter a little bit. And what we're going to do after we brown that butter is we're going to add a little bit of things to it. So I'm going to add a little bit of maple syrup, some cinnamon, a little molasses, and a little bit of cayenne. Cayenne is fun because cayenne and maple actually go together amazingly well. Like the sweet heat is so good. And these are just going to basically give it kind of like a that breakfasty kind of vibe to it. Once we actually make the roux, we're going to put in some salt. Always use kosher salt. Easier to control your salt levels, easier for taste. And we're going to use some brown white pepper. Now, if you don't have white pepper, absolutely, oh shoot, come on, there we go. If you don't have white pepper, that's absolutely okay. You can use black pepper, and you're not going to notice really that much of a difference. The only reason I'm using this is for looks. In fact, I suggest everybody always use just regular ground pepper. In fact, here, if you can, get something like this, where you can see that the peppercorns are whole, and you just grind it up. Okay? All right. So let's turn this over. So the good thing is that we have, because we have the biscuits already done, I've already set the oven to the proper temperature. We're good to go. Now, if you guys give me just 1 sec, I'm going to take care of some business and we'll be right back. Where's Saban? Saban in here? You go outside, Kitty. 1 second, guys. David. David. Go outside. No, I opened it briefly, but. David. David. Where? Where? Guys, not outside. Get in the bathroom. All right, little scare there. Thought I had lost my cat. All right, let's see here. Okay, so we've got the oven set to 400. I'm just gonna grab these biscuits, put these biscuits in. We should be good. Oh man, they're tacky. You don't have to spray because they have butter in them, so they shouldn't stick. Let's organize this a little bit. All right, and try to get them spaced out a little bit on the tray. So we're gonna be about, I don't know, let's say 9 minutes. That seems fair. All right, in that 9 minutes, always use timers. Don't ever let anybody tell you, I cook without timers. Use a timer. All right, where are my scissors? Where are my scissors? Why would you take my scissors? Always missing scissors. Scissors always end up going missing around this place. I'm telling you. Someone's got to take them to cut their hair with them. Fucking dumbass cat. Yeah, he's fucking hiding in the dark. I found the scissors. All right, we're gonna turn that on. Wait for that to heat up. That should take like 5 minutes. I should have had that on already, but it's all right. What's going to happen is that this cast iron is going to get hot. All right, give me a second. Let me get my hands washed here. Of course, every sink never fails. Every single sink takes forever to get hot water. And you should always be washing your hands with hot water. It helps move fats and stuff off of your fingers when you touch meats and other extremities. And of course, this one's taking forever. You can hear that fan, the vent, is on. And that is totally okay. We want to make sure we're getting the proper airflow here. So let's get in here. Grab our spatula. Now I'm using a plastic one. I also have metal ones, or not metal ones. Also have wood ones. I do have a metal one as well. But I'm going to use plastic because plastic's easy. I should definitely get the headphones so I can connect and actually hear what I'm saying through the headphones, because it's very important to hear that stuff. So, all right, so you can see we're starting to get some sizzle in there. That's us. Let's see. Moving this little rug. I have a rug over here and that I'm trying to use to make sure that this tripod doesn't slide around on my greasy floor that I have to clean. All right, here we go. That is a great shot. So while we're doing that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab a little saucepan down here. All right, and I'm going to grab this butter. I'm going to toss it in here. And I'm going to get this thing nice and brown buttered up. I'm gonna make some brown butter. Oh, well, you know, it might be helpful if I turn on the right burner. Well, we all make mistakes. Tell you what, it smells really good. Let's take a look at those biscuits. We are pretty close on those biscuits. Don't worry, cook your biscuits early. They'll get reheat. They're easy to reheat if you want them really hot. Plus, when we pour this over there, they're going to take on the heat as well. So, you don't need them to be hot. You just want them to be cooked thoroughly, and you want them to be fresh. In fact, if you go to a lot of places that serve biscuits and gravy for breakfast, they will either use a cold biscuit or a biscuit that they've stored under a heat lamp. Some places, I know that certain diners who do biscuits and gravy will actually take the biscuits, put butter on the bottom on each side and just put them down, cook them with the butter, put them on your plate back, obviously back right side up, and just pour your gravy onto the halves of the biscuits. Now, some recipes, it seems to vary based on who you talk to. Some recipes will say to drain the fat from the pigs, the sausage. Some will say keep it. I say keep it because you're using flour and butter, which will also help to negate some of that extra fat that you've just gained. The flour mostly is what will take on a lot of that fat. Believe it or not, if you know what you're doing, what you can do is you use the fat from here, and you could use a little bit less butter and still make a roux with that fat. Will it be perfect? Probably not, but you can do that. A roux is basically fat and milk, and fat, flour, and milk. That's what most roux will be. And you can use really any kind of fat as long as it's a fat. You can see we are breaking this up really well here. I don't want a whole lot of I'm going to turn this down. Now that it's started to get a little bit of heat, I'm going to turn it down. I'm trying to make some brown butter. If you've never made brown butter, you have to watch your heat levels on it. All right, you can't just cook your butter at hot and then burn it, because what you're doing is basically burning. You're trying to separate the milk fats of the butter from the rest of the butter. When you do that, you can then take it out and make ghee, which is clarified butter, or ghee as it's called. However, you can actually let it cook a little bit longer so it gets kind of that nutty flavor, and then cool it down. You've got to rapidly cool it down. Now, I don't have a method to do that right now. Unfortunately, I don't have enough ice. But if you could get it you rapidly cool it down, and while you're cooling it down, you mix back in the milk fats, and you'll create brown butter. Brown butter is really popular with bakers for things such as cookies or any kind of baked good. Seems to really take on brown butter well. But I'm not going to be using it for that. What I'm going to be using it for is I'm going to mix in a bunch of stuff when I mix in the fats. All right, so you heard it right. That biscuit is done. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead. Hold on one sec. My wife has to grab a hand soap. Yeah, I was about to grab one too because we're almost out in the bathroom. All right, so I have a little doily here that I'm going to put the biscuits on so they can just kind of cool down. I'm not in a rush to use them. Where are my little bit? There they are. So we got these from the Instapot, but you could use them for anything hot. They're really good. They're really helpful. We're going to turn this oven off because I don't want any more heat than I can have in this house. Ooh. Check this out, guys. Check this out. These are perfect. Perfect. Look at those, huh? Perfectly browned and everything. So we're just going to place those on my table over here, out of the way, let them cool down, get them away from the heat so they stop cooking. And we're going to get back to this. Give me one sec. All right, so we're gonna toss this around. I'm actually gonna turn off the heat here. I have it over here. Where did it go? It doesn't matter. We're gonna take this and move this off of the heat because I want to give it a little shake. But I want to get it off the heat because I want the heat I don't want any more heat than I can have on that. I don't want to overcook it and dry it out or make it horrible. A normal stream. I'm guessing that people don't do this normally, which sucks. Oh, check this out. By the way, you could see now, I'm gonna put this back on, but you could start to see, you see that foaming? That's all the milk fat starting to separate from the liquid inside, which is good. That's what we want. If you were inside of a restaurant that used clarified butter, a lot of recipes will use clarified butter. I actually use clarified butter for my clam chowder, so pretty cool. What you're gonna do is you're gonna actually scoop that foam out of there and get to a clip, and once it gets clarified, it tastes really good. All right. Let's see, let's go down here. This is the worst part. This is the part where it takes the longest amount of time. We're just sitting here waiting for this butter to clarify. Unfortunately, what happens is it takes a little bit of time too, because you're really burning it, but you don't want to overcook it, because if you could overcook it real easy. I'm doing great, by the way. Thanks you for asking. I'm super excited about this this newer type of recipe that I get to share. I've done this a couple times, and everybody seems to really love it. They love the flavor, so glad to be sharing it now with the world. As you can see, we've got nice clarified butter. Take a look at the temperature on the stove here, if I could show it real quick. That is at a 2. Now, it's going to vary based on your oven setup or range setup, but you really want to be really low. You do not want to cook this much longer than you need, or much higher than you need, because like I said, you will burn that butter and you really don't want to. So if you're lactose intolerant, I actually have an answer for you. I don't know if you heard earlier, but you can really use, now I'm using brown butter for my recipe, but you don't have to use butter at all. You can use anything that has a fat. So here, I'll give you an example. This right here, this is beef tallow, beef fat. Now it's been used a lot, and I'm gonna use it one more time for something, and then I'm throwing it out. It's basically done. But you could use a lot of different fats for this kind of stuff and mix stuff into that fat, and then we can mix in our flour and our milk together. And now with milk, you can use an oat milk or an almond milk, a soy milk. Any kind of milk will do for that. All that a roux really is the mixture of fat and flour. The 2 F's, fat and flour. Once you mix those together, you're good to go. Oh, nice. Okay. Yeah. Uh-oh. I went down. I had multiple viewers, and then go down to 1, and then go back up. I'm all over the place. As you can see, we're still separating here. If you want, you can grab a little whisk. Let me see. Where's my little whisk set? There you are. Grab a little whisk here. Just kind of give it a little. Try to get some of that fat back in there. Just want to make sure I'm getting everything before I let it go. So you can see, once you mix it back in there, you kind of see how it forms back together. But now it's going to separate a little bit easier. All right, we're going to give this a quick little toss here. I'm actually going to do this. I'm going to come over here. That's all right with me. Actually going to add some flour right now to this. about 1/3 to 1/2 of a cup. I'm not trying to do too much. I want something for the butter to stick to. And then when I do the milk, I'll be able to add as much milk and loosen it or thicken it based on how much milk I put in it. All right. Nice little leave that alone just like that. Like I said, we're just waiting for this to separate, and once it's separated, we'll be good to go. In fact, let me start adding some of this stuff to it. I'm going to add some maple syrup. Now, everything, I'm not measuring this stuff out. I kind of get an idea. When you've worked enough, you get sort of that idea of what you're looking for in terms of flavor, how much of each is. I'm going to add a little bit of that, just like that. Okay. Add a little bit of the molasses. That's going to be as much as you really want. I probably added just a little bit too much, but we'll be fine. We'll make it out of there alive with that. Remember, we're adding a lot of pepper, and we're going to add more than you would think with the cayenne to try and cut through some of that sweetness. And it will. The cayenne is very strong, and of course, pepper will be peppery and nice and good. Let me add some of this to this. You may think that's a lot of pepper. It's not. It's probably not enough pepper, but anyway, let's add a little bit of kosher. Be careful with your salt. Even though kosher salt is nice and easy to work with, it is possible to add too much salt. And you'd much rather have less and be able to add more than have too much, because you can't take it away. I'm going to crank the heat up here a little bit because I just added that stuff. Start to get that burnness to it here in a few seconds. I'm going to add some cayenne in there. Now I added a little bit extra to it to really give it that kick. Because, again, we're going to be using very sweet ingredients. So I really want to cut through some of that sweetness. Cut through it a little bit with the cinnamon as well. And that looks like we're all good there, as far as seasonings go. Excuse me. All right. Now let's give it a little whisk. Get that stuff mixed up. If you want to, you could also add a little bit of water to this to help break down some of these seasonings, because they'll actually stick to the water and dissolve a little bit. But you don't really have to with this recipe because we're using milk, and milk does have has more than just, lactose in it. It also has water. Let's get a paper towel here. Let's clean up my little spillage that I'm sure many people saw. Check this out. All right. We are just waiting on the browning of this butter, and it should start soon. Remember, we're not trying to boil it. Even though it looks like it's starting to boil, we're not trying to boil that stuff. We don't want to dissolve. We don't want to evaporate the water that's actually there. We're really just looking to keep it, to cook it to a point where it burns. Like, water boils at 212. I think we're trying to keep it at 210. So it could be right there at that burning point. I wish you guys could smell it. It smells so good. All right, it's starting to get there. Trust me, it is starting to get there. Come on, let's go. Like I said, I could boil it, but if I boil it, it'll be a problem. It'll create something worse. So we're just gonna let it sit there, kind of cook, like heat up to a browning point. The maple syrup is going to boil. The molasses will boil because they've already been cooked, and there's almost no water. So there we go. We're starting to get there. You'll smell a nice nutty smell as you go. All right, yeah, that's looking good. I'm loving that right now. It is starting to, the maple syrup and the sugars are starting to boil, but not the butter. Just awesome. Give this a little stir here. Now this is not a typical roux idea, so be careful with it. No chef would probably allow me to get away with this, but we don't work for a chef, so we work for ourselves. All right. Let it cook just for another minute or two and we'll be all set. All right, let's get this back on some heat. We're gonna get this heated up real quick. And once we get that heated up, I'll be able to pour that into there. And we'll be able to create our roux. I can smell that nutty smell, and it's not too strong right now, so we'll be absolutely good. Hopefully get some heat back on there real quick. We're almost there. Really, the worst part about this is we're using electric ranges and you have to build heat, and heat is energy, and obviously energy is hard to use, so. Come on, energy. Butterfly in the sky. I can go twice as high. And take a look. It's in a book. Reading Rainbow. Once I start to see some smoke coming from here, I'm gonna start to pour that in there. And like I said, the extra fat that came off of this is gonna be really helpful for using that so that we can actually make a roux. Starting to get some heat on the outsides here. I can see the meat starting to work its way. So we're almost there. Come on, let's get there. We're almost there. We're almost there. We could do one thing, and that's build that roux. There we go. I'm going to use our whisk to kind of scrape the bottom here. I want to get as much of it out as I can. Put that in there. And now let's get this mixed up and you can already see the color is kind of coming up a little bit from that flour. What I should do is I should have worn an apron, but I always forget to wear an apron. I hate wearing aprons, I really do. And now we've got that great smell from the roux that we've just created, mixed with that mapley, that cinnamon, that cayenne, and a little bit of that sugar. All right. Now, time for the milk. I'm gonna add this in, pour it in, and just pour. And I just used all of it, so I'm gonna recycle this container later. We're gonna give this a little mix up here. If you want, you can add a little bit more of the flour here if you want to thicken it up some, which I'm actually going to do. I want to add a little bit more flour to mix with that milk fat that I just poured in there. That's really all I want. I really don't want more, otherwise it'll become a little too thick for me. But I want it to connect to that fat and really start to work its way in there. Just let it kind of work with it. Don't go too fast, especially as you see it's really high up on the edges here. So just kind of work with it. Don't let it spin too much. Just move it around. You're trying to break down that flour so it can absorb some of that fat. And see now, excuse me, a lot of that flour has now started to go away because it's finally breaking into the fats. And so what we're left with is pretty decent. Looks thin right now. Give it a few minutes. Let some of that water boil out, and it'll thicken right up. You may be wondering, why do you keep stirring it? Well, I'm trying to keep the center of heat away. So when you cook something and you leave it alone, heat will go towards the center. Obviously, it will build from the outside in. And so when you cool it down, it also has to build from the outside in. Excuse me, that was from a lot of talking. So the heat will try to centralize itself to the middle of the object. By moving through the middle, you readjust it and move it around so it ends up going everywhere. And what you end up getting is more consistent heat throughout. Now I could leave it alone and let it sit, and it will do the same effect. I just want to try to speed up this process a little bit. As you can see, it's starting to kind of boil up. Got lots of milk on the top here. Lots of little foams. That's from the milk starting to heat up to a point where it will actually boil. And that's what we want. We want it to boil. So I'm going to take this off and I'm going to let it just kind of do its thing for a moment and start the cleanup process. Now is a great time to start your cleanup process while you wait for something to boil. Put everything away, wash any dishes that you may have dirty that you want to wash. Now, save a little bit of time while you're eating. And also just kind of generally maybe get your plates set up. This is a great time to get plates set up. Oh, hi, welcome back. We are almost there. We're just waiting for the boil of this stuff. We're gonna let some of this water boil out. And once it's boiled out, we'll be able to get back to a thicker state. Let it boil. There we go. Boil, boil, boil. Boiling, boiling, boiling. Ooh. I lost the cap on the floor. All right. Let's get some hot water in here. We're going to clean out this milk jug. They do accept milk jugs in my area for recycling, and I am a recycler first and foremost. Sustainability is important. All right, let's get this in there. Good thing I used it up too, because it actually, it's shelf life, or not shelf life, more like what the manufacturer said that milk should have been thrown out yesterday. Don't believe the manufacturers. You usually get like a week or two afterwards before it starts to, it doesn't go bad. Milk doesn't go bad. It's been pasteurized. Once it's been pasteurized, it means all the bad bacteria that would be in it is gone. So Don't believe what these companies always tell you about this stuff. But it will go sour. And so when it goes sour, you're really going to want to, judge if you want that or not. Sour milk really doesn't taste too great, but you can drink it. It is absolutely 100% safe. All right, we are washing up some dishes here. I actually have a pot of coffee made up, so I'm gonna probably make a pot of coffee afterwards and enjoy this nice breakfast. All right, almost done here. And as you can see, there's a little bit of schmutz on my countertop. I'm gonna clean that off real quick. Put this here. Yeah, it's gonna be good. Let's clean off this countertop. Nice. All right, so I'm gonna start squirping this around here because some of it is sticking to the bottom, because that happens with every sauce, I swear. Woo! Woo, look at that, it's starting to bubble. It's starting to bubble. Woohoo! Look at that. Starting to bubble up. We're good to go. It is thicker now. When I got a little bit on the side. So what I'm going to do, now that it is plenty thick, turn that off. We are going to grab my, where did it go? Oh, shoot. Oh. It went into the sink. I don't know why it went into the sink, but it went into the sink. Any cast iron, get one of these. They're amazing. You just pick up the sides, move that over. As you can see, I got a little bit right there, but that's okay. Right now, it is, the cast iron still is retaining some of that heat, but now that heat it has no more heat being added to it, so it is losing heat. It just holds on to that heat longer. I love cast irons. I recommend everybody who ever cooks, especially if you're cooking with electric burners, get cast iron. It retains the heat while the burner actually like turns on and off. Plus, you can cook with these on any induction cooker, which is a magnetized cooker. You can stick it, basically, because it's heavy duty, you could stick it straight into a fire. It's great. They're amazing. They're awesome. You can see that thickness now. You see how it's sticking to the spatula? That's what you're looking for. Now, let's make a plate here. Let's show everybody what a plate of biscuits and gravy will look like. So, let's move this around a little bit. Hold on one sec. There we go. It's a little spice rub up there for some ribs. All right, so because of this, I'm gonna take these two, take two biscuits, looking good on the bottom, looking good on the top. I'm gonna rip them in half. Boom, just like that. Put them down just like that. And now we're gonna grab a spoon. Now where is my spoon? There is my spoon. There is my spoon. Could also use a ladle if it was thin enough, but I don't want to use a ladle. So we're gonna Let me move this over here so you guys could see. We're going to come over here with this. We're going to spoon up some. Just like that. And try to layer it right on top of your biscuits. Right? Just like that. Now, your biscuits and gravy are done. Now you can top this with whatever you want. You want to put cheese, you want to put egg, you can. I actually recommend, if you're going to put egg, get a sunny side up egg. It looks so cool. But that's it. We're done. So thank you so much for watching, and I hope you got everything you wanted out of this recipe and more. Again, thank you for watching, and come back next time.